What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode review for Takt Destiny. This is episode 10, and with me, as always, I have Loosebait.
We kind of figured what was going on with Lenny. I mean, even with the last episode, I've been noticing a lot of death flags around him, and it ends up, turning out true by the end of this episode.
Yeah, I mean, we pretty much get most of his backstory in this episode. So, I mean, once we saw that, I kind of figured that he was going to die. Because that is usually the case when you get like a character's like full backstory. It tends to be a death flag.
Yeah, well, not to mention like his the conversation he had with Tack at the end of the last episode, saying that that he's grateful with everything he's done, and Tack is the one who called him out for saying that he's sounding like that they're never gonna see each other again, which unfortunately ends up being true, like I said at the end of this episode. But yeah. So Takt Destiny meet up with Lenny and Titan in the middle of Central Park, where Lenny was about to reveal what happened to Takt's father during the Boston tragedy. Unfortunately, they're interrupted by I think the head, the head director of the Symphonica, accompanied by both Heaven and Hell, and of course, I think his name is Sangan from what I can read in the.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, so Sangan, it pretty much eavesdrops on their conversation, and he pretty much more or less reveals to him that he's responsible to what happened to Tack's father during the Boston tragedy, and of course he's also responsible for continuing to use Hell's tuning fork to draw out more D2s. To attack cities around the country.
Yeah, I can't really say I was surprised that he was sort of revealed to be behind a lot of what happened.
Yeah. Yeah. So this pretty much leads into an extended fight, which lasts throughout the entirety of the episode. Which the animation style is still good, by the way, but then it often transitions back into flashbacks with Lenny getting to know Tack's father before the Boston tragedy.
Yeah, I mean, of course, while this fight is happening, we're getting segments of Lenny's backstory, what kind of his perspective, I guess, on the Boston incident, and then him meeting with Titan. And also him being told by after the Boston incident, he's told by Sangan that he has, I guess, the potential to become a conductor. And shortly after this, he meets up with Titan. And I mean, I did like what we got of his backstory. It was a lot of it. I think the biggest issue is, a lot of it is kind of things you could sort of guess might have happened with him. So it's pretty much confirming what a lot of people might have thought happened with him in the past. And I mean, obviously we kind of figured based on certain things he would have said, or he said throughout the series, he had some kind of respect, obviously, for Tack's father. So it kind of just expands on that relationship and shows what happened between the two of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and at one point he once went to Tack's house shortly after the Boston incident, but he decides against having to consult Takt and just leave him alone for several years. And from what I'm assuming, that Lenny may have been some sort of a distant guardian to Takt, keeping a watch from a distance until Takt ends up becoming a conductor during the incident in which Cosette was killed.
It's possible, considering he was nearby in the beginning of the series. He seemed to be around, where Takt lived.
Mm-hmm.
So he might have been watching him the whole time.
Yeah. But of course, I think one of the flashbacks ends abruptly during the flashback when Lenny and Titan were dispatching D2s. They also end up hearing Hell's tuning fork, but the flashbacks and abruptly and transitions back into the battle between all the music arts in the fight in Central Park.
Yeah. I mean, like, I thought this is it was a pretty good fight scene, like you said. Like, the animation is fluid, and and I mean, it looks about as good as the other fight scenes that we've seen throughout the series. We pretty much have, like, Takt at one point trying to, really go all out and with controlling, his control of destiny, or, which causes his body, of course, to break out again in the red scar, whatever the hell you call that shit, like whatever is on him, and of course he just like completely he can't handle it, and he just pretty much just falls over. And this causes Lenny to step in and try to help out Takt, and Lenny, of course, just decides to, much like Takt, I guess, but he can maybe control it better. He pretty much just goes all out to the point where it's obvious he's pretty much going to die.
Well, but before this is that Heaven was about to shoot Takt point blank, but before that happens, Lenny steps in and takes the bullet instead, and of course Heaven instead just repeatedly just shoots in the back at least several more times before Lenny, like you said, decides to pretty much unleash Titan to her full potential.
Yeah, I was getting a lot. This is where I was also getting just like a lot of Fate vibes with how this supposedly works. Like, Titan, I guess, had some hidden power, and she's just completely, I guess just, she's in like some kind of powered up form, and she's managed to fight off Heaven and Hell. And eventually, like, this leads to her. I don't know what you would call this. Like, it reminds me a lot of like like almost like a noble phantasm, which is why I compare it to Fate. She does some like super powered move that would have, I guess, killed Hell if she had been caught up in it. But Heaven managed to just like pushes her out of the way at the last minute and takes the blast, which I thought like might have killed Heaven, but I don't think she's dead based on how she was kind of. It seemed like she might have still been alive when we see her walk off, or at least like when she ends up walking off with Saigon and Hell.
Yeah. So this pretty much leads to Lenny just pretty much collapsing, from his wounds, and then of course, this leads to a final conversation between Lenny and Takt, with Takt confessing that he acknowledges Lenny as his mentor, and Lenny confessing to Takt that he pretty much helped him out mainly out of guilt for not being able to save his father during the Boston tragedy.
Yeah. I mean, obviously this is a really emotional moment, but I feel like it's like it would have been more impactful had we gotten a little bit more between Takt and Lenny. Like, they do meet up, of course, every now and again in the series, but I just don't feel like there was a lot there to make you really feel anything when Lenny dies. I know what they were going for. It was trying to be an emotional scene, but like I said, I felt like there wasn't enough between Takt and Lenny to really make us feel anything once Lenny's dead. And of course, we all saw this coming based on all the death flags.
And then of course the final scene pretty much shows off. I guess you could say Lenny in the afterlife, playing his instrument with Takt, and then he meets Takt's father at the end of the episode, just pretty much moving on after that.
Yeah. I thought it was a mostly decent episode. I thought the fight, of course the animation was great. The fight scenes were good. And I guess my only criticism is that, we have this emotional moment, but it just, in my opinion, it feels a little bit unearned, because I feel like we should have had more time between Takt and Lenny, or some more, I guess the word would be just more development with their relationship for me to really feel much about like his death in the series. And like I said before, it also felt a little bit predictable with all the death flags we got. I mean, like you mentioned before, we even got one in the last episode where, you know, they were Takt was saying to Lenny, like, you're acting like this is our last conversation. So we pretty much knew what was probably going to happen in this episode. But
Yeah.
I mean, aside from that, it was it was mostly
yeah.
decent.
I mean, the highlight of the episode was just mainly the fight between the music arts in Central Park,
Yeah.
which, like you said, it had a lot of Fate vibes with all the moves that they were doing, particularly Titan doing her Noble Phantasm like move, just summoning all those shotguns all around her.
Not to mention, there was also like this conversation earlier on in the episode between Titan and Destiny, where Destiny was teasing her about going on a date with Takt, and Destiny didn't know what a date was, and it sort of reminded me also of Saber in the Fate route, at least, not knowing what dates are. And it's like I don't know, I'm not sure if it's intentional, but I feel like they're definitely like taking certain elements from the Fate franchise with this series.
I mean,
I don't know.
this series is based off of a gacha game in
gacha
Japan
game.
right now, so it's like it has I guess you could say it has some similar aspects to Fate Grand Order.
Yeah, I mean Grand Order, and I mean, that scene would have been more specifically Stay Night, but yeah, I mean in some aspects, yeah, Grand Order as well. Obviously with the gacha game aspect of it. But yeah, I don't. There's just, I mean, this is mostly like action heavy episode, so there's really not too much to say in terms of any sort of like plot development. I mean, we did of course get a reveal as to, I guess, who the real villain is. So I'm kind of curious as to where that's gonna go. And Takt looks like he's in pretty bad shape right now. So
Yeah, I mean it's. I mean, we're not sure like how many fights that he can really last with. Pretty much, you know, like his skin decaying like in a much faster rate than it is before.
yeah. But yeah, I mean, there's not really much else for me. I don't really have too much else to say about the episode. I'm not exactly sure where it's gonna go from here. I guess like Takt will probably need some time to recover, and we might get some more about like what Sagan's plans are specifically, or what he's trying to do. But I'm not really sure in terms of predictions as to what might happen next.
Yeah, there's one little scene that that's really easy to miss. It's just before Takt and Destiny meet up with Lenny at Central Park, Anna suddenly just gets a phone call. At the beginning of the episode, but then that part cuts off. So we might have a follow up to that particular scene maybe in the next episode, and hopefully we'll get some build up to the finale of the show.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't really have much else to say about the episode. I don't know if you have anything else to say about it.
I mean, it was an okay episode. I kind of wish that there was a little bit more build up to the relationship between Takt and Lenny. And a little bit more on Lenny's backstory and his reasonings for helping Takt and potentially becoming a surrogate father to him. But
yeah, I mean, not to mention also the relationship between Lenny and Titan, because I mean, we don't really get too much about that either, other than just the fact that they're partnered up together.
Yeah. With Titan without a conductor now, like she's obviously going to be staying with Takt and Destiny, but there's also the other music art, Valkyrie, who we haven't even seen since I think several episodes ago.
I'm concerned now that she's just going to show up at the last minute or something at this point, because her character seems like she's been almost completely sidelined. Like it's weird. It's just weird how she was kind of introduced in that one episode, and it seems like she's been really like sidelined at this point.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I'm just a little curious like what the overall development time was in making this, because this is I mean, of course this is based off of a video game of a mobile game that they're releasing in Japan, but it's also the fact that all of this is just anime original material and not based off of any plot point from the game.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, that all being said, I guess until next Tuesday, we will see you all next time.